you had a gun to your head and the only way you could survive was if you named a female philosopher, would you survive?
Angela Davis, Andrea Dworkin, Bell Hooks, Bernadette Caulifel, Catherine McKinnon, Julia Kristeva, Jasbir Puar, Judith Jarvis Thompson, Rosa Luxemburg, Kimberly Crenshaw, Simone de Beauvoir, Simone Weil, Sally Haslinger.
Now, I think I can speak for everyone when I say none of us would survive. But why is that the case?
Because your understanding of philosophy comes from TikTok, stoicism, slideshows, and Jordan Peterson videos.
Well, take a look at this graph. It shows the range of IQs for men and women.
Dude's busting out the PragerU graphs. There's not a single number on this entire graph. Hold on, did you get this graph from a fucking Quora article?
So the bottom line is this: nature and equality are at odds with each other.
If you like nature so much, then turn your phone off. Also, equality is natural. You can look to all the hunter-gatherer societies who are both close to nature and also egalitarian.
The second we act like we can conquer nature, we only become more confused and unhappier. And we're seeing exactly that now.
Nice source, buddy. Too bad it doesn't say any of that. This unhappiness poll was taken at the height of the pandemic, so yeah, people were unhappy. But interestingly enough, this doesn't seem to mention women's rights as one of the causes.
Sometimes I forget how radical I am until I get around people that aren't as radical as me, because, like, I'll be saying something that's just, like, very basic to me. Like, I will literally look at someone and be like, yeah, the police are an institution built on racism that are that's only job is to enforce the laws that protect the property rights of rich people and that allows poor people to stay poor and rich people to just keep hoarding their wealth. And they will look at me like I just said the sky is pink. Like, they're like... And I'm just like, bro, these are just, like, factual things. Like, look it up. Like, it's like, I ain't even gotten to the good stuff, bro.
What are some red flags in leftists that I look out for? Now, if you fall into one of any of these categories, this doesn't mean you're a bad leftist and you're not failing my purity test, because this isn't a purity test. I'm honestly just trying to illuminate some of the blind spots that you may have or others you know may have, so that we can all learn and grow as leftists. Okay, now that we got that out the way, here we go. If they watch and heavily identify with Vosh, that's a red flag. Vosh actively denies white supremacy and falls into class reductionist mindsets a lot. And when people call him out on it, he doesn't really hold himself accountable or ever apologize. So I am pretty wary of people that watch Vosh. Building off of that, if they're always talking about reading theory, but they only ever read the works of Marx, Engels, Kropotkin, or other white men, that's a red flag. I'd recommend Wretched of the Earth by Frantz Fanon, this book by Huey P. Newton, Women, Race, and Class by Angela Davis, and Assata Shakur's autobiography. If you're a white leftist especially, it's really important to understand the relationship between race and class. And if you're a leftist and a man, it's really important to read works by women in order to understand the role that women have historically played in revolution, and often how their voices have been marginalized and silenced, in order to understand how that plays out today, and how you may be playing a role in that further marginalization. And finally, the biggest leftist red flag is not liking me. I mean, look how cute I am.
The IDF claim they have now killed 60-plus Hamas operatives out of the current death toll of at least 10,000, so a 99.5% civilian death toll. A spokesperson for the IDF said, "We throw hundreds of tons of bombs on Gaza. The focus is on destruction, not accuracy. And we can tell. Don't let the media convince you otherwise."
Alright, to anyone and everyone sending me messages, just want to say first of all, thank you for the support.
Okay, so for those of you who don't have context to that just amazing video, that is a white South African man who is fighting in the Israeli military. And I love that. I adore that video because there is no better litmus test historically for figuring out whether or not you're on the wrong side of history than asking yourself, which side are the white South Africans on? Like, you're telling on yourself. You're really telling on yourself. Like, that's it's fucking crazy. But as funny as that is, it really shouldn't surprise us, right? Because, you know, the Israeli government and the apartheid South African government go way back. Like, people forget this, but Israel was one of the prime arms dealers to the apartheid South African government right up until its collapse. And even once the sanctions internationally started being imposed to stop the arms deals, Israel was still going through with plenty. And on top of that, Israeli officials and technicians were critical in South Africa's development of its own nuclear weapons program. People forget that, but Israel and South Africa were exchanging resources, technical expertise, etc. to build out both of their nuclear weapons programs for years. And in fact, it was not uncommon on the ground to see Israeli technicians and military advisors either training South African forces or helping them develop nuclear weapons programs and other things. And it wasn't a one-way exchange either. Israel was borrowing management strategies and structures and actually implemented them in occupied Palestine, which is why in the West Bank in particular today, it looks like a functional series of Bantustans. It was a match made in heaven, right? It was two settler colonies just doing settler colonial shit. But yeah, all that to say is that that video is both hilarious and not without historical precedent, because white South Africans have been loving Israel and loving Zionism for a long fucking time. But again, if you are someone who supports Palestinian liberation, you should be really happy watching that video, because there is no better indication that we are on the right side of history than seeing Afrikaners in our opposition. Something worth thinking about, I guess. As always, free Palestine, and have a great day.
The only reason there are pyramids in Egypt is because they're too heavy to carry to the British Museum. I was in Cairo last summer and I went to the Egyptian Museum where there is a fake Rosetta Stone hanging on the wall. There's a plaque next to it saying, sorry, we don't have the real one. It's in the fucking British Museum. The official website of the British Museum literally has a page called Contested Objects from Our Collection, which includes a bunch of art from around the world, but also an entire section about human remains, because they have 6,000 human remains from around the world. Nobody, the British Museum. Nobody, the British Museum. Never ask a woman her age. Never ask a man his salary. Never ask the UK, where did you get your shit? What's something that feels British but isn't? The contents of the British Museum.
Don't let the people who are supporting and profiting off of the genocide of the Palestinian people silence you from speaking out against it. The evacuation orders continue as over 1.8 million Palestinians are expected to evacuate, all in this small area right here. Almost 2 months of continuous heavy bombardment by US-funded Israeli airstrikes, killing thousands, with thousands more under rubble. Not to mention starvation, cold, over 45% of homes obliterated, the looming fear of the spread of infectious diseases. Before October 7th, over 95% of Gaza's water was undrinkable. Water crisis is only getting worse, and there are no functioning hospitals. We have to be louder every single day.
The amount of comments that I have received just like this one is insane. So I want to use this as an opportunity to say something that I feel is really important. Girl, there's no way you're a leftist. You have too much common sense for that. I think we should consider the more likely thing, which is that you're being lied to about the left. It is amazing to me that people still believe the shit they're fed through the media when it's so obvious that it's all manipulative propaganda. If you spent less time on the internet believing all of the bullshit and more time having conversations with people who actually consider themselves leftists, I would be willing to bet you'd be surprised by how much you actually have in common. How similar your morals probably are. And I know that because I've had conversations with conservatives who are so surprised by how reasonable I am because of all the bullshit they're fed about the left. Like sometimes I'll be like out in public in a place where there's a TV and Fox News is playing and I'll listen for a second and I am actually floored by the lies that they are telling you guys. The conservative media will take the most ridiculous comment or situation that they can find and then push it to you, telling you that that's leftist ideology and the leftist agenda in order to make a mockery of us and discredit us, which I'm sure also happens on the other side because of how biased our media is. They are trying to distract you from the real issues at hand by picking out the most extreme things that they can find and then tell you that we all believe those things. Or they will completely twist our words to manipulate you into thinking we have beliefs that we don't even have, or are fighting for things that we're not even fighting for, in an effort to minimize and distract from the actual issues we are fighting for. I'm sure there will be conservatives who watch this who are like, well, I know someone who believes this, and I saw a comment that said that. And to that I say, one person or a few people does not reflect everyone's views. And yeah, there are still going to be things that we disagree on, obviously. But the conservative media is out here telling you guys that our top priority is getting litter boxes put in schools when we're just fighting for basic rights. Like, you say leftists can't have common sense. Where's your common sense in recognizing that the media is manipulating you? You are being lied to. It's propaganda. Stop falling for it.
We should house the homeless. We should feed the hungry. And we should heal the sick for free. I don't know. What do you think? You dead ass right now? What do you think? Fuck poor people. Yeah.
Yesterday, dozens and dozens of y'all saw a girl experiencing harmless, pure delight over a $6 Goodwill bird clock and thought, I'm gonna be a downer right now. I don't know this woman. She's never done anything to me, but I want to see her smile fade. And I don't know who hurt you, but I have time today, and I am here out of the goodness of my heart to address all of your concerns. So number one, I am not worried about not liking the clock in 2 days. I am so sorry to all of y'all who got it and then apparently hated it within hours. Maybe your capacity for delight is just not as finely trained as mine. Some of us are whimsical little sunshine hunters who like to allow ourselves to experience joy. Number two, I'm not worried about it waking me up in the middle of the night. I don't know your grandmother. I don't know what knockoff early edition of the clock that she had that she apparently made you sleep directly next to every time you came to see her. This one has a light sensor on it. So yesterday, once the sun went down, I didn't hear it anymore. And number three, a lot of people were very upset that I pronounced the name of the street the Goodwill was on as Basewood and not Basswood, which is apparently technically correct. And then when I responded and said, I'm not really that worried about that either, because different people pronounce different words in different ways, and everybody knew what I was saying, and it's really not impacting my life at all. I was told that my unwillingness to take corrections and grow was tacky, and they were concerned for the physical safety of my husband should he ever need to correct me. Those were two separate people that were that mad. And so, I think I'm gonna make it through my life just fine with my pronunciation of that word that I barely ever say. And I think you are going to make it through your life just fine hearing that pronunciation one time. Have an amazing day.
You're coming back, and it's the end of the world. We're starting over, and I love you, darling.
Bisan says that she feels like she won't make it, that she's gonna die soon. It feels as if she only has a few weeks, probably even days. Motaz says that he's no longer documenting, and that it's time for him to worry about his own survival. Ismail Jude posted his goodbye and congratulations to the Palestinians that achieved martyrdom. Ayman Al-Jadi says he doesn't know how much time he has left and that he hopes the world will still remember him in a beautiful way. Mansour from Gaza News Live, I'm sure you've seen his lives on TikTok. He and his wife made the decision that she and his children will be leaving Gaza, and he will be staying behind to help document the Gaza genocide as an English speaker. These are all people that have been risking their lives on the front lines to report to us, to tell us what's going on, to keep our eyes open, to tell us what's happening on the ground. Like, seriously, do you think that the Palestinians really want to record the death of their child, of their family members, and put it on social media? No, they're doing this so we can look, so we can tell the world, so we can stick up, so we can fight for them, so we know the truth. They're doing it so we know the truth. They don't deserve this life. Nobody deserves this life. They do not deserve this life. Just because they're posting their goodbyes to go focus on their own survival does not mean we let up. We need to keep doing our research, especially those that use them as primary sources. We need to keep this momentum up. We need to keep applying pressure to the government. We need to keep applying pressure to the people around us. We need to keep paying attention. We need to keep boycotting. We need to keep protesting. We need to keep calling. And not even we as in just like Americans. We as humanity, like everyone. We all need to. I don't know how people can just sit by and watch an entire genocide unfold.
If Israel has the right to defend itself, what the fuck were they doing in Latin America? So this is basically episode 2 of me reading The Palestine Laboratory, which basically talks about all the fucked up shit Israel did around the world. What if I told you that in the long history of Haiti or Haiti, there was someone giving to people that were in power, horrible people, in order to Haitians? It was Israel. I'm going to read you the passage that Palestine Laboratory talks about Haiti and everything that Israel did in Haiti. Another example, Haiti under Francois Papa Doc Duvalier and his son Jean-Claude Baby Doc Duvalier, whose family ruled between 1957 and 1986, received Israel's Uzi machine guns, armored vehicles, and devices for placing weapon systems on aircraft. The Duvalier dynasty unalived between 30,000 and 60,000 people, but despite this, to curry favor with Papa Doc, Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs had a book by him translated. On one of the first pages, under a picture of Papa Doc, was the caption, Haitian president for the rest of his life. As a reward, Haiti strongly supported Israel after the 1967 Six-Day War. Israel's lawyer, Heidi Mack, an Israeli human rights activist, filed a Freedom of Information request in Israel in 2019 to gain documents from the Ministry of Defense about its relationship with Haiti under Duvalier, but their request was denied by the court. Tel Aviv District Court Judge Haggai Brenner, in rejecting the request in February 2021, claimed that releasing the documents could greatly embarrass the state. Now hear this. The original documents contained racist and derogatory language by Israeli officials towards Haitians, mocking their poverty and skin color, and so Judge Brenner claimed that this was the reason not to allow them into the public realm. Files, she wrote, which include the use of insulting terminology that was accepted about 50 years ago and which today is perceived in a particularly negative light, may damage the country's image and foreign relations. Brenner also worried that allowing the documents to be made public might assist the boycott, divestment, and sanctions BDS movement against Israel. The boycott movement that is currently happening right now. So according to this Tel Aviv judge, because they said it 50 years ago, it wasn't offensive back then, but they had trouble releasing it now because it's offensive nowadays. What? And do you see how towards the end, they were talking about how they were worried that if people found this out about Haiti, people would start to support the BDS movement? Yeah. Mind you, I saw this sign at a protest that I was at. Haitians are not stupid. They know what the West has done to their country. So yeah, the next time you want to say, oh, Israel's just defending themselves, ask yourselves, what the fuck were they doing in Haiti? And it doesn't stop at Argentina and Haiti. They did this in Paraguay, Honduras, Nicaragua, Guatemala, Mexico, you name it.
Israel has been killing babies and gender violencing little girls for the past 75 years. And it's not just babies and little girls. Today, they're continuing exactly what they've intended. The death, destruction, displacement, and gender violence of our men, women, children, the elderly. And I find it absolutely disgusting beyond words that they would weaponize rape to justify the genocide of over 2 million Palestinians. The heavy bombardment of Palestinians in Gaza, which has already massacred over 15,000 Palestinians and destroyed over 45% of Palestinian homes. Palestinians who are cold and starving with no end in sight. The looming fear of the spread of infectious diseases and no functioning hospitals. The thousands of Palestinians in Israeli prisons who are being tortured as we speak. All ages, all genders. The pogroms of Palestinian villages under attack by the Israeli military and state-sanctioned settler violence. All of these practices which have been consistent with the past 75 years and their long-term goals no matter which government is in control. The state of Israel cannot exist without the death, destruction, and displacement of the Palestinian people. This terror cannot be reformed. And if you believe in Israel's right to exist, then that means you believe in the death, destruction, displacement of the Palestinian people.
Here is a non-comprehensive list of the things that have happened since the beginning of this so-called ceasefire at the hands of the Israeli government and their army. Although they have released 117 Palestinian hostages, they have continued to kidnap innocent civilians to the point that they have replaced all of the hostages that they released. People were able to return to the abandoned Al-Nasser hospital where they discovered the decomposing bodies of multiple premature infants that they had been forced to leave behind while being forcefully evacuated by the Israeli army. CCTV footage coming from Jenin in the West Bank reveals that a 9-year-old boy was shot in the head in the street by an Israeli sniper for no discernible reason. Displaced people who are attempting to return to their homes, which are likely rubble in the north of Gaza, are being shot at and prevented from doing so. Families in the West Bank who are celebrating the return of their loved ones who had previously been hostages are being punished for showing joy, and the IDF is literally seizing the goods that they prepared to welcome their loved ones home. Israeli soldiers are looting destroyed and abandoned homes, and they have taken so much money that it is equal to about $1 million in US currency. They've also been campaigning like crazy, having secret PR meetings with multiple US senators that are not open to the public. Didn't include any video or photographic evidence of the atrocities that I just mentioned, though this person on Twitter has proof of basically all of it. And the things that I mentioned that are not available to see on his Twitter, you can Google for yourself. There are several articles by multiple different sources confirming all of this information. Even though 43 US senators have now called for a ceasefire publicly, which is definitely an improvement from before, it is still not enough, and we need to continue to contact our representatives and put immense pressure on them. We cannot let this be a trend.
Palestine, what have they done wrong? And they want what they got. Love!
What message have you got for the world?
My common sense. Hey, common sense, come on. And it's the politicians. They want what they don't have.
What don't they have?
Love.
My name is Sukkar. I am from Palestine and I live in Gaza. I live in Gaza. قصف وي بوف بوف بوف. بعرفش احكي انجليش يا اخوان، بس يعني بدك تمثلكولي. الدنيا مولعة يا اخوان في غزة، وصرت صحفي الحمد لله. راح اكون معكم على تغطية كاملة. ريم الشباك. يعطيكم العافية يا اخوان.
So now that the temporary ceasefire has ended, Israel is back at it again with the bombing campaign on Gaza. Neighborhoods have been leveled and more than 150 Palestinian civilians are killed. This again shows that they do not care about humanitarian laws. Politicians think we're going to stop talking about Palestine just because of the little glimpse of hope that they gave us with the temporary ceasefire. But do not let that be the case. If you're an ally for the Palestinian cause, this is the time to be more aggressive than ever. Continue to amplify Palestinian voices, like, share, comment, interact with their videos, and more importantly, be a vocal ally. And by being vocal, not only are you spreading more awareness, but it's also a judgment of your character and morals, and a good one. Because by being a vocal ally, now you have a target on your back. You're at risk of losing your job, losing your platform, losing endorsement, but that doesn't matter to you because you know that being the voice of a cause is more important than those things, and your humanity matters the most. So I urge you to not stop talking about Palestine because we're just getting started. And if you made it to the end of the video, go follow Colorado Palestine Coalition. I will have them tag in my video. And with that, free Palestine.